So hi guys, welcome. This is Nutritious and Delicious. I am the owner, Bethany Geddes, and I am the nutritional consultant. So I'm excited to give you guys some free training right here on social media. And these are topics that you guys have asked about. So if you're watching live and you have a question, just type in a comment for me here and I will answer it for you right away. Hi Justine. So let's get started, you guys. I get so many people asking me this question: is the keto diet for them? Now, what are the benefits of keto? This is another thing I get asked too. Thank you. And is it sustainable for my life long term? So I will answer all of these questions for you guys and kind of give you the pros and the cons of both sides, because I don't like to gravitate more to one side than the other, because this is where everything gets customized to you. So firstly, I want to give you a bit of a background in how I know about a keto diet. So I actually used to work in the diet industry myself as a nurse back in the day before I had children. Feels like many, many years ago, decades. And what happened is that I actually started to do my own business. So the background here is that I have the medical basically behind the keto plan, and I understand what goes on in the body. But what I want to kind of talk to you guys about right now is the pros and the cons of the keto itself, and why some people can do it and why some people can't. So the first thing I want to point out is that if the word diet is in conjunction with the word keto, then that's where I have an issue. So the thing is, I talk about, in my side of things, there's a keto plan, and I don't talk about a keto diet. Now, the difference is a keto plan and a keto diet is a different thing. So what I'm trying to say here to you guys is that the reason I'm saying a plan versus diet is that diets restrict calories and they restrict your macronutrients. And the main reason for that is just because they want people to drop weight really fast and get the results. That's great, but the problem is it's not really a long-term sustainable action plan. So if I feel like a client is in need of a keto plan, I need to be able to know if they can actually sustain this kind of lifestyle going forward. Because I want them, in my practice here, I want them to focus on the keto foods versus the keto, the calories, the macros, all that kind of stuff, because that can make people a little bit crazy. And if you're weighing things, measuring things all the time, I just want you to focus on the keto type of foods in general. Because if you've got too many restrictions on yourself, this is where people kind of like, you know, they flop and they fail, right? Now, keto has some amazing benefits. A lot of the weight loss here comes from your abdomen, which is fantastic, because a lot of people that hold weight in their abdomen are people that are typically in menopause. Men usually typically carry it around their abdomen as well. And also if you've, had babies and stuff like that, you typically have the fat around your middle as well. Now, another great thing about the keto is that it actually helps reduce your appetite naturally. And the reason for this is because it's putting your body into a state of burning its fat for fuel versus burning the carbohydrates, which basically turn into simple sugars, and your body is utilizing that in the day. So this is really good. I find for people that are type 2 diabetes, it's also really good for people that have autoimmune diseases if it's used the right way, because it can actually reduce inflammation. So people that have autoimmune diseases usually have inflammation in their body, and then they kind of have all these problems going on as well. An example of an autoimmune disease would be people that have Crohn's, people that have celiac, psoriasis, MS as well, so muscular sclerosis, right? For example. Now, the other side of it is that keto focuses mainly on high healthy fats, like really high healthy fats, moderate amounts of protein, and very, very, very low carbohydrates. So for most people, this is why it's not sustainable, because the problem is it's going into your vegetable category as well. So things like carrots, corn, peas, potatoes, all that kind of stuff, you can actually eat those on a keto plan. Like that, it just kind of knocks you out of a state of what it's called ketosis, when you're burning your fat for fuel. So what happens there is that it poses a challenge for a lot of people. And also when they talk about fruit as well. So if you're a fruit bat, like I'm a fruit bat, I eat fruit like no other. I eat probably fruit more than I eat anything else. But if people like dates, bananas, grapes, and even things like tropical fruit, like, hey there, Bev, like pineapple or mangoes, that causes a problem, because if you have a sweet tooth and then you're craving sweets, usually I say to people, go have some fruit instead, and that's something that kind of gives them the saving grace. Now, if you're on a keto plan and you have a sweet tooth craving, it kind of causes a problem because you can't really eat the sweet fruit, which is, you know, kind of backfires on you there. So what I usually say to people is, when you have major sweet tooth cravings with keto, it can be really, really hard. And this is where the mindset kicks in. Because 80% of what we do is in our brain and 20% is what we actually do. So, you know, you can hand a plan to somebody and say, okay, off you go, like run to the races. And they're like, all right, I know what I'm doing. But one day, you know, you have a bad day and you're off the rail again, right? And it's, what's your go-to? Are you a salt? Are you a sweet tooth person? And I typically just find that if you're gonna miss the sweets, like the fruits and stuff, and you're more of a savory type, I'd say the plan is more geared towards a savory type of person than a sweet tooth person. It's just a bit easier to maintain, because I know personally myself, I would be missing out on the fruit big time. So now my nutrition opinion on keto is this. It's really healthy for people losing vast amounts of weight, which is amazing because it actually helps you lose the unhealthy cholesterol, because you have your good healthy cholesterol, which is called your HDL, and you also have your bad cholesterol, which is your LDL. So you want your HDL to come up and your LDL to come down. Now, if your bad cholesterol's up here, then usually your your good cholesterol is down here. So we actually want the opposite to happen. And typically, if you follow a keto plan correctly, then you can actually help reduce your bad cholesterol. And it also brings down your blood pressure as well. So if you have high blood pressure, it actually has been shown to help that, and diabetics as well, because it's helping manage their sugars, probably because there's no fruit. Like you can have fruit, but it's certain types of fruit like berries and things like that that don't have a lot of sugars in them. Now, if people just eat like the animal meat and they don't have enough fruits and vegetables as part of their keto plan, then this is where we run into problems with not enough fiber in the diet. And you can obviously imagine, if there's no fiber in the diet, too much of a good thing, such as the healthy fat and meat, isn't always a good idea, because you need to find that balance with your keto plan and what works for you and your family too. So say if you're cooking for your family, like I don't know about you, but you know, sometimes kids aren't going to eat the exact same way you are. So you might have to kind of portion out like their rice, bread, pasta, like starchy carbs, put it on their plate and then do your own. But it's got to be something manageable. You can actually cook and prepare yourself. You don't want to be making like completely separate meals and kind of segregating yourself, because that is not going to be something that you can sustain, which is very hard for moms. Like I find for a lot of my mom clients, they usually ask for, okay, just give me something I can do for just me and the kids, you know, because you don't want to be making like 5 or 6 meals for everybody. It's just, it becomes a bit of a mess otherwise. Now, I also wouldn't suggest this plan if you are having anything with like kidney or liver problems, because it takes a lot of effort for the kidneys and your liver to process animal meats, and not a lot of fiber as well. So the other thing that I find that people run into is that, you know, if you can sustain this and everything, I actually have had clients where they're not able to digest their proteins, and we've done hair tests and stuff with them, and we've got the results back, and the results are like, everything that you're intolerant to is protein, and they're eating a keto diet. I'm like, that is not the plan for you. Like, this is why you're having issues. it's just not meant for you. So I usually suggest more of like a vegetarian based lifestyle if that's the case, if someone's not digesting protein properly. And then there's also people that have done the intolerance testing as well with me, that they're, you know, intolerant to healthy fats even. So imagine that you're intolerant to the protein and you're not digesting it properly, and you're intolerant to the healthy fat. Like, that's a recipe for disaster right there if you are on a keto plan. So everybody's body is completely unique and different. So this is why having somebody go through this with you and looking at like what your body is able to do is super beneficial, and just not following the trends, because I find a lot of people, they just jump on the bandwagon like, yeah, like I heard my friend lost like 20-30 pounds doing this. That's fantastic. Maybe it works for them. But I wanted to make sure that it actually works for you as well. So if you guys have any questions, I'm actually going to go through the questions here pretty quickly. Okay, yeah. So Bev, you said, is keto safe for diabetics? Yeah. My mom, ideal protein, and they told her because she is diabetic, she has to have a fist-sized amount of carbs every day to make it safe. Yeah, so Bev, just like I said before, it's really good for people with type 2 diabetes, which I imagine this is probably what you're asking about. The reason why she's probably having to have the carbohydrates in her every day is to keep her blood sugar stable. So another way you can keep your blood sugar stable is to make sure that you are eating on a consistent basis. So if you're somebody that skips out on breakfast and you're drinking coffee all day, coffee is a natural appetite suppressant. So if you're drinking coffee and then you're kind of having like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours where you're not eating, and again, your blood sugar is doing this all throughout the day, and this is kind of setting you up for a bit of a disaster. So you want to make sure that you're eating foods throughout the day. Now, when she says carbohydrates, I'm not sure if that exactly means like, are you able to have like breads, rice, pasta, or like, I'm assuming what you're saying from this is that the doctor has told her that she can have like the fruits and the starchy vegetables. Like, that's what I'm assuming in here. Justine, what about using keto for a kickstart, like 15 pounds on keto, then sustained by watching carbs, but not being so strict, like cheat meals and desserts or whatever? Yeah, I agree. So, like I said, I'm not a huge believer in being black and white, because I've worked in the diet industry before. I've seen people do black and white, and it's sad, because I worked there for a good 5 years, and every year I would see people come back in even heavier, and that is it broke my heart every time I saw those people, because it mentally made them struggle. And you know, I saw a lot of people lose a vast amount of weight, but it's like the mind and the body aren't catching up to each other. So you lose a vast amount of weight, but you still tell yourself you're fat. And it's, you know, it's a mental game. And that's where, like, in the membership here, I am heavy on talking about mindset, because people really get trapped in their mentality, and this is where people unfortunately fail more than anything. It's not failing a plan, it's failing because they feel like they can't do it, that they still feel like they tell themselves negative tapes, like they wake up and they still say, I'm still fat, you know, blah, 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 things like that. And it's terrible. Even when people lose weight, like even when you've lost a lot of weight. So this is where, like, in the first month, I really want to get on people for, like, what are you telling yourself? Because some people don't even know what they're telling themselves. But yes, I agree. Doing keto for a kickstart would be good. I think for 15 pounds, I would probably say keto for a month. Do a keto plan. So that would be like a 4-week plan. I've had clients do the same thing. They lost about 10 pounds. You know, you could do 15. Again, it's how strict, how, you know, dedicated are you to do that in the month? Because, like, you can lose that amount of weight depending on how much you have to lose. Typically, the more you have to lose, you lose a lot faster. It's usually the last 10, 20 pounds that usually are the toughest, but most of the time it's just because it's here, right? And then yes, going into being back on carbs and things like that. Now, when you're talking about like cheat meals and desserts or whatever, now reading between the lines on this one is that you want to be careful with that, not saying like I'm going to go really strict for like a month and then all of a sudden like I want to eat cheat meals because I feel so deprived, because that's the restriction dieting mentality, and it's a bit of a loop. It's like you restrict, and then people tend to binge, and it's like the opposite effect, and there's no like in between. And what I'm trying to do is get people to be that in between, so you're not losing vast amounts of weight super fast because your brain's not catching up to that, like your mindset isn't. That's what I'm saying. With the cheat meals, I would suggest probably using more like fruit-based kind of desserts, things like that. I do actually have some stuff at the end for you guys I want to tell you about. And then actually I'm also going to give you 2 recipes at the end here as well, so you guys stay tuned. But yeah, like in moderation, and I think it's kind of going from the keto plan to doing it in a way where it starts to moderate it like back little bits at a time, because the problem is as soon as you kind of go back into like old ways of eating, water weight goes back on, and that's like easy 4 or 5 pounds, and people are like, oh well, I've just like gained 4 or 5 pounds of fat, like I give up. And typically it's not 4 or 5 pounds of fat, it's 4 or 5 pounds of water weight, because your body is switching, like I said, from a fat burning mode back into using carbohydrates. So your body needs a bit of that time to understand like what's actually going on here as well. Diabetics, yes, potato rice. Okay, so Bev just cleared that up about the potatoes and rice. Potato, pasta, and rice for keto with somebody that has diabetes. Now, I would suggest with pasta and rice, because if they are diabetic, to stay away from white bread, pasta, rice, because that is what spikes your insulin. You need to have whole wheat because it actually slows the metabolism down. Also, being diabetic, you want to make sure you have some protein in your food if you are eating that, because I wouldn't say with potatoes, rice, and pasta to eat that as a dish, because that's what gets you into trouble in the first place. So I would actually suggest, instead of the potato, pasta, and rice, to do more of a starchy vegetables, peas, carrots, corn, yams would be good. Yams would actually be a lot better than a potato would be. Rice, a lot of people on keto like to eat like the cauliflower rice. I'm not huge into that. I don't like cauliflower myself, but you can always find vegetables that you do enjoy yourself. Yeah, so that's basically it for, I think everybody's asked questions here. Does anybody have another question? I think I see, no? Okay, oh, hang on. Yeah, Bev, exactly. So the white versus whole wheat. So what happens with the white bread and pasta is that basically it's stripped of all its nutrients. There's nothing in it. And then nutrients get scientifically added back in it, which is pretty gross with most of our food, which is man-made. Usually B vitamins and things like that are added in. But the reason I say whole wheat, and also you want to make sure it's not genetically modified whole wheat, because unfortunately, you know, this is another huge big topic, but the milk industry and the whole wheat, you know, industry as well, they're mass corporations now. So a lot of the whole wheat is genetically modified, and that's why we're having a lot of like celiac issues, dairy intolerances, all that kind of stuff, because it's processed differently than it was back in the day when there was a cow and a farm and all that good stuff. So yes, go with brown whole wheat pastas, rice, things like that, and also add a bit of protein and healthy fat like olive oil as well. So Justine says olive oil keto because so many of us use coconut oil. Yeah, olive oil is fine. Coconut oil is fine. I love coconut oil. So I want to tell you about this one, because this one I don't think a lot of people understand about olive oil, is that olive oil you actually can't heat up. So a lot of people cook with olive oil, and what happens is it's a cold pressed oil. as soon as you put it in the pan and you heat it up, it actually changes the oil and it burns it and it makes it rancid, and you don't want that, and you're putting it in your body like that. So olive oil naturally is supposed to go into like a cold pasta, it's supposed to go as like a salad dressing. It can be used as like, as the Greeks eat, like dips. Oh, it's so good. You put olive oil and like balsamic together. It's just so good. Also, is there a quick list of approved keto foods? I can make that happen. But yes, I actually do have a keto plan. I do have a 4-week plan that I give to my clients as well. Like I said, it's a plan, it's not a diet. So I don't want people to be restrictive. I do that actually over the app that we have as well. So that's sent to your app on your phone. So it's easy for you just to look it up, and it's digital, it's right there. But I do have some keto recipes for you guys at the end here. I love carrots, and I figured it was okay, so clearly I need a list. Justine, don't worry, we'll save you. Carrots, you know, and that's the thing, right? Because like I said, working in the diet industry, people come in like, what? I can't eat quinoa, I can't eat carrots. Like, what are you doing to me? Like, these are normal foods. I'm like, I know, I'm really sorry, but you can't. Like, just part of what the diet is, right? Reason for that is because it has more sugar in it, and it basically just spikes your insulin levels a little bit more and kind of takes your body out of state of ketosis. Now, when you're in ketosis, some people it's really easy to be in a fat burning mode, and other people, like, they can be so super strict and they're barely in ketosis. Like, it's really hard for them to stay in it. A good way to tell if you're in ketosis, usually this is what happens when you fast as well, is you have bad breath. So it's called keto breath. So basically it's not, you know, gum doesn't save the day on this one, but when people have that really smelly breath, it's usually because they're fasting and their body is going into a fat burning state. So they actually have a smell. So I can smell it on people's breath. I'm like, whoa, you must be on a keto diet. So unfortunately that is kind of a side effect, just to let you know if you are doing a keto. You said, whoa, I did not know this. Yes, I know. Yeah, Bev, cooking with olive oil, don't do that. Coconut oil is a high burning rate. So you want to use coconut oil rather, like, just buy a big tub. Costco, I buy mine sometimes from Superstore, and they're like $20 and they last forever. And they don't actually have like a huge taste. Like, if you don't like coconut even, it doesn't have like a big taste of coconut as well. So how about fasting? Lots of people say the keto is OMAD, what? Or fasting protocols. Yes, Justine, we actually talk about fasting in the membership, which you are a part of. So I believe that is somewhere in month 4 or month 5, and that's talking about, I think, hormone balancing and things like that. So I actually do give you in your accountability workbook as part of the membership the protocols, how to fast properly, not just like, I'm not going to slam you into like 24 hours, 48 hours, 1 meal a day. Oh yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, 1 meal a day. That would probably be like a 16 to 20 hour fast, I would say. So like I said, when you're going through the accountability workbook in the membership, it gives you the breakdown. Basically, like, we start with 7 or 8 hours. So basically that's easy because that's when you go to bed and you're like, you know, I'm all good. You know, and you're not hungry, but the harder part gets when you get throughout the day, when you're kind of like, okay, I'm really hungry. Like, you know, I'm going to bite somebody's head off, right? But I think the keto is very similar to intermittent fasting, yes, and I do suggest intermittent fasting for some of my clients when they're really struggling with the weight loss, and we do it like periods of time where on one day, off one day. Like, I don't want to do it for like days at a time because your emotional state's not very good when you're like that. And if you're raising a family and you've got other things to do, unless you're a hermit on your own at home, it's not a very good idea. But yeah, intermittent fasting is kind of the same thing. It's getting your body into a state of burning fat, just like keto as well. So now here comes the fun part. I'm going to send you guys 2 recipes here. If you're interested in something that has a keto plan, and this is actually part of my keto plan that I have for 4 weeks as well, if somebody is interested in that. And the recipes are chocolate macaroon, which is really good, and there's also a cheesy chip one as well. So this one you might have to hide from your kids because I know I don't like to share them. But so yeah, let me know if you guys want these. Type it in the comments. In the link, there's a link here in the video. Sign up for the email and let me know if you want these recipes, and I will send them your way tonight. So thank you guys so much here for tuning into Webinar Wednesday. And next week, same time, same place, we're going to be talking all about how much should I be eating. So stay tuned and ask your questions then. And in good health, I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.